The city is alive with activity.
Hi, I'm Dave Evans, and welcome to $9.99.
NYC Media knows everything about the city, and now you can take us with you everywhere you go. Our new iPhone app has tons of information about places to eat, things to do, and much more. Download the NYC Media app from iTunes and discover New York.
This week from New York Times TV. Reporter Emily Hager discovers Civil War secrets at the public library. Food reporter Mark Bittman spices up corn on the cob. Movie critic A.O. Scott reviews a Park Slope classic. And Times reporter Melena Ryzik makes a splash. These stories and more from the New York Times.
It's 12:30 in the morning. I'm somewhere deep in Brooklyn. I can't tell you where, but I can tell you that I'm about to go to a secret pool party.
It's a very simple concept. It's hot in the summer, and there aren't that many places to swim in New York. Dumpsters are everywhere. They're ubiquitous.
This guy who's done some construction work for us before, and he said there's a bunch of dumpsters lying around because this company made a whole slew of them, and the construction industry came to a halt, so you can borrow them. The owner of the lot has a forklift over there with no brakes. He helped us arrange them. We had somebody sand down the rough edges inside.
There was 3 60-foot water trucks. It's from this company in South Jersey, the New Jersey Aquifer, and it's really nice, clear, chlorinated water.
To be surrounded by this landscape and to be in the water is a very incongruous and interesting experience. It makes you wonder, as so many things in New York do, what's behind every wall that you can't see past. It's one of the things I really like about living here, because this could happen.
So is this surreal to be swimming in a dumpster?
No. It's funny, I was just in Switzerland in May, and urban swimming is very developed there. So there's this old abandoned canal that's not used for shipping anymore. And people are swimming all along it, right in the heart of the city, and using the urban environment for leisure.
New York has tons of little nooks and crannies that are lying wasted and unused, and we clamor so much for space here, and yet, look how much space there is here.
It gives us hope that maybe we could take the parking lot of a strip mall and make a country club there and have 40 dumpster swimming pools. And this was really just built as a prototype.
Are you going to tell people about this?
I don't know if I should. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to.
Is the secrecy part of the appeal?
I don't want to admit to that, but yeah, a little bit. There's something very lovely about the fact that it's not overrun with hundreds of people.
A restaurant with a waiting list is exclusive, right? A club is secret. A backyard is private. So this is private.
It's a backyard.
It's a backyard.
It's a backyard.
We just rented it as a backyard.
Are you going to be able to keep this a secret?
Oh, I've already told people, and people already seem to know, but the interesting thing is no one knows the address, so I think the secret is being sort of preserved.
I think this is delightful. I think it's wonderful that somebody had the idea, the energy, the motivation to do it, and it's given me a lovely evening.
Next up, a farm share program connects upstate farmers with low-income areas to bring fresh produce to the city.
Anna Garcia takes her cooking and her ingredients seriously.
Put a tomato, onions, pepper.
Whether it's handmade pupusas or fruit for her daughter Karen, she wants it fresh. But fresh, affordable vegetables are hard to find in her neighborhood, New York's South Bronx.
When I go to buy in the supermarket, this is yellow for that's no good. Nothing. This is good, really, really good.
The vegetables and fruit that fill Miss Garcia's kitchen are from a new program that turns the concept of community-supported agriculture, or CSAs, on its head.
Quite frankly, the South Bronx is known as the capital of obesity. It's the capital of diabetes.
The perception of this neighborhood is we only eat French fries and chicken, but that's not really what it is. It's all about eating healthy, but some families can't afford healthy meals every day.
Hello, Dennis Derrick.
Dennis Derrick, a university professor and a community organizer, is changing the way South Bronx residents eat by connecting their plates and their wallets to upstate farms.
Also talking about a community with one of the poorest communities east of the Mississippi.
Food direct from local farms has been getting into the city through farmers markets and more recently CSAs, or community-supported agriculture programs. But those efforts usually serve more affluent neighborhoods.
The CSA model requires you to basically pay the $550 share up front 2 months before you even get any of the produce.
The farm share has a sliding scale depending on income, and members only pay for 2 weeks in advance. To make the farm share sustainable, Mr. Derrick raised money and bought this farm in Schoharie County. It'll begin producing greens later this year.
This is a small selection of seedlings, but the whole farm is in a way a seedling in a sense. It's a beginning. It's a resurrection of a farm that was productive for many years.
Shares in Corbin Hill Road Farm will eventually be turned over to the people who are part of the program.
I have this vision of a Warren Buffett annual meeting where 2,000, 3,000 people from the community come to the farm and vote what happens to their shares and listen to the report of the entire farm. That to me is the exciting piece about what makes people economic citizens and not just clients.
Bronx residents recently picked up their first shares from some other Schoharie County farmers who are helping out until Mr. Derrick's farm can produce.
When was the last time you bought broccoli that still had the big leaves on it?
That's right.
Juan Duncan, who's been out of work for 4 months, signed up for a subsidized share. There were fresh greens,
Your Swiss chard.
sugar snap peas, and strawberries.
Oh, yeah.
The strawberries were a special treat from Schoharie Valley Farms in upstate New York.
We live and farm 3.5 hours away from the biggest appetite in the world. Just a short distance away, we have people that are going to bed hungry at night and high levels of childhood obesity and juvenile diabetes. We got to connect the dots here.
The smell of fresh oregano, picked just a couple of days earlier, perfumed each share.
Good.
The herbs come from Frederick and Carolyn Wellington's nearby farm.
I'm from Brooklyn myself, so I understand the problems in the South Bronx. Question of poor nutrition, a lack of fresh food.
Owning a share in a farm may not yet resonate with people in the South Bronx, but for now, many are happy to be able to offer their family quality produce at a decent price.
And I'm paying $7.25 for all this. I think it's great. I mean, the price is good. It's worth it.
Now, City Room reporter Emily Hager looks at how the public library uses modern techniques to reveal old secrets.
When Martha Plum, a woman from Michigan, wrote these letters, the Civil War was raging and months had passed without a word from her husband, William.
William Plum was a soldier in the U.S. Army. We can tell from this top letter here that he was from Michigan, and his family is looking to find out what they can about his current situation.
They didn't know if he was dead or alive. Martha Plum's letters are just a few of the thousands of documents in an enormous collection known as the United States Sanitary Commission records. Over the next 3 years, the fate of her husband and other soldiers, once lost in history, will be revealed as archivists and conservators here carefully restore the documents, opening some of them for the very first time.
These pages have been soaking long enough that the adhesive is starting to loosen.
Conservators place the letters in deionized water to separate them, making them easier to read and handle.
Pry them apart. And underneath here we have a print of an eagle and a flag.
They say these letters are the primary documents for future dissertations, historic tomes, and novels.
It was a time of great stress, anxiety. There could be very uplifting moments and very tragic moments, and you see what it was like to live the Civil War on a day-by-day basis, not knowing how it was going to turn out.
This first batch of letters is finished washing and ready to come out.
On a tiny slip of paper found in the bundle of Martha Plum's letters, a hospital clerk asked, "What became of him?" Martha Plum later found out her husband died of typhoid fever.
Next, the minimalist Mark Bittman gives corn a Mexican accent.
I'm here to tell you there's no wrong way to grill corn. Ever since corn was first grilled, probably 5,000 years ago in Mexico or South America, people have been grilling it, and they've been grilling it with different methods. Some people threw it in the ashes in the husk. Some people took the little silk off. Some people soaked it in water. Some people stripped it entirely. Everybody's got their own thing, whatever. I'm going to show you the way I like to do it, and if you think I'm wrong, I don't really want to hear about it. This is it. I take an ear of corn, I shuck it, and I don't want criticism of my shucking technique either. I did not grow up in Iowa. Now, having said there's more than one way to do this, this is the part of the recipe you have to stick to. If you begin with the potato, it will not work. Put the corn on the grill. The grill should be hot. Walk away. Only you can say how long you're going to walk away for, because if your grill is roaring hot, it'll be 30 seconds or a minute. If your grill is a typical gas grill, it's going to be 2 or 3 minutes. I like a kind of random pattern here. I like some kernels really blackened, some not so. I'm going to let this go for another minute or so and show you one of many sauces you can use on corn. Of course, we all know melted butter, plain salt if the corn is really good. This is a little thing I picked up down in Mexico. Sort of classic Mexican street food. Mayonnaise, lime juice. You will remember that we did an entire video on all the different things you can do with mayonnaise. Here's another. So you want a kind of thin, almost yogurty, milky texture here. And then some chili powder. A nice topping for corn, and yet another thing you can do with mayo. I like this one. I'm going to let the rest of these go for a bit. Well, this one's good. What I'm looking for and what you're looking for may be different things, but I like some kernels that are really charred. You get that great kind of charred sweetness. It's almost like roasted marshmallows, because corn, of course, should be sweet. Nice. The second that chili powder hits the corn, the aroma is explosive. Voila. As you can see, a very flexible recipe. How long you cook the corn, how you cook the corn, what you put on it. But for it to work, you must start with corn.
Straight ahead, A.O. Scott examines a family drama set in 1980s Brooklyn.
I told him I didn't think there was anything else I could do. I did try everything.
The title of Noah Baumbach's The Squid and the Whale refers to an exhibit at New York's Museum of Natural History.
Bye, Bernard.
It's also a complex metaphor for submerged emotions, unending family conflicts, and the way that parents can sometimes seem like gigantic monsters.
You only wanted joint custody because you pay less child support that way. Because it's cheaper for you.
Walt, Frank? The parents in this case are a literary couple, Joan, played with unnerving wit by Laura Linney, and her husband Bernard, played almost too brilliantly by Jeff Daniels.
Degalas.
What?
It means bitch. Don't you remember?
You're calling me a bitch?
Now let me qualify a bit what I mean by brilliant. Bernard, the character, is not actually quite as brilliant as he thinks he is, while Jeff Daniels, playing him, is much more brilliant than he at first seems to be.
The whole thing's very complicated.
The collapse of their marriage is seen through the eyes of their older son, Walt, who's wonderfully played by Jesse Eisenberg. He does an amazing job of playing a sometimes unlikable but ultimately sympathetic 15-year-old boy.
I'm going to play lead guitar and do vocals on a song I wrote. Hey you, out there in the cold.
Walt is smart, insecure, obnoxious, and confused, and it's his confusion that drives the story.
It's like we were pals then, and we'd do things together. We'd look at the night armor at the Met, the scary fish at the Natural History Museum. I was always afraid of the squid and the whale fighting. I could only look at it with my hands in front of my face. When we get home, after my bath, she'd go through all the different things we saw that day at the museum, and we'd get to the squid and the whale, and she'd describe it for me. It was still scary, but it was less scary.
And who wouldn't be confused in a family like this? In addition to Joan and Bernard, Walt has a younger brother named Frank, played by Owen Kline, who has his own very special way of handling the family trouble. There's an interesting crew of supporting players in this family drama, including Haley Pfeiffer, William Baldwin, and Anna Paquin.
The Mother and the Horse. Looks like a cool movie.
That's a classic. I had it in my room.
This is Noah Baumbach's third feature, and it brought him to a new level of mastery as writer and director. His dialogue is razor sharp, and he gets every one of these characters exactly right.
Just a minute.
The directing is brisk, efficient, and entirely unsentimental.
God damn it!
The film has some flavors and hints of the French New Wave, but no self-consciously cinematic gestures, and it's less than 90 minutes long. The Squid and the Whale is certainly autobiographical insofar as Noah Baumbach was also the son of battling intellectuals who grew up with his younger brother in Brooklyn in the 1980s. But even people who didn't grow up in a similar milieu and don't recognize the specific reference points in this movie feel that it's about them, about their family.
I've been giving it some thought. I mean, you called my father at the last minute. You said something. Whatever you said, he thought I could save the marriage. You felt I wasn't aggressive enough. I'll make more of an effort to do stuff. I've been cooking and doing chores at my house. I make veal cutlets, which the boys love. Why don't we all have dinner and talk more about this?
And that's because of Baumbach's keen insight into the shifting dynamics of power and affection that define life in any family, and also his understanding of the impulse of young adults to break free. The Squid and the Whale is the story of someone learning to see things for what they really are, and also learning to tell his own story in his own terms.
Oh, babe, I'm on fire, and you know I admire your body. Why don't we slip away? Oh, sha-la-la-la-la.
In the magazine, we discover the secret to Mariano Rivera's success.
Mariano Rivera is one of the most dominant closers in history. But what may be most remarkable is that he has done it by confounding hitters with mostly one pitch, his signature cutter. John Flaherty of the Yes Network faced Rivera as a hitter and also caught him when he played for the Yankees.
From a hitter's standpoint, he's out on the mound. It feels like he's not even putting any effort into it, and the ball explodes on you. And from a catching standpoint, he's the easiest guy ever to catch because he throws the ball right where you want it.
Rivera uses a seemingly effortless delivery, which he can flawlessly repeat pitch after pitch. His cutter is thrown very much like a fastball, but the pitch has significant lateral movement. He creates and adjusts this movement with the different pressure he puts on the ball with his fingers. The pitch's lateral movement keeps it off the bat's sweet spot, moving in on the hands of a left-handed batter and toward the end of the bat of a righty. To a hitter, Rivera's cutter first appears like a straight fastball, making it hard to distinguish the two pitches during the first fractions of a second when the hitter must decide if, when, and where to swing. Hitters often rely on reading a pitch's spin to determine what pitch is coming, but Rivera's fastball and cutter have what appear to the hitter as the same spin. Many pitchers throw their cutters more like sliders, with their fingers pulling down on the side of the ball. This can create more downward and lateral movement than a cutter, but it also creates the signature spin of a slider, a spinning red dot, that the hitter can recognize and adjust to. With identical deliveries and spins on Rivera's pitches, hitters are at a loss to identify and then attack the pitch, until it is too late, and the balls end up in very different locations. Here are the nearly 1,300 pitches that Rivera threw in 2009, each frozen at the point when the batter must make his swing decisions. But with few clues to determine the pitch's ultimate location, the batter can be faced with guessing at these outcomes. Here are the cutters to left-handers. Here are the cutters to right-handers. And fastballs to right-handers. He throws almost no fastballs to lefties. As this map of his 2009 pitches shows, Rivera is remarkably adept at hitting the corners, keeping the ball away from the middle of the plate, the easiest spot for a batter to make good contact.
Looking from this perspective, it's not surprising that the real hot spot is inside on a lefty. I think he could hit that spot with his eyes closed.
Rivera's simple but effective formula has made him baseball's most dominant closer.
Finally, another happy couple takes the plunge in this edition of Vows.
I was dating for a very long time, and everybody told me I should go online, and I was very resistant. I was approaching my 50th birthday, and I said, all right, I'm just going to do it. I threw a profile up. The next morning, I woke up and I had 100 responses, and I felt like the new girl with fresh meat stamped on her forehead.
I met Susan online. We exchanged emails. I wrote her a long email, and she reluctantly responded because I was still in Seattle.
Seattle? What do I need a guy from Seattle from? I'm not leaving New York.
I think she liked the email because I actually kind of wrote a long letter telling her that I was actually planning on moving to New York.
Usually the emails say, I read your profile, sounds interesting, drop me a line, or I saw your picture, I like your smile, tell me what you think. So when I opened up his email, it was a full-blown letter, an old-fashioned letter with paragraphs and punctuation and no typos.
And then about a week later, we started talking on the phone, and immediately it was extremely comfortable.
It was going to be 3 weeks before, or 3 or 4 weeks before he got here.
Even though we had been conversing electronically and over the phone for a month, there was still that caution until you actually meet somebody, face to face.
I had had a medical procedure the day before, and I was sick as a dog, but I looked fantastic.
I was waiting outside her apartment, and she came walking out, and I knew right away, this was going to be great. And
had a great time, and within the first 5 minutes of the date, I said, on that second date, I'm saying yes. And our second date started at noon and ended at 2 o'clock in the morning. We were standing on the pier on the Hudson River, and I said, this is the guy. Yeah.
We had several weeks apart and then several weeks together. That's how it went for more than a year or so.
He did have one day of cold feet where he was saying he was sort of just finishing up a relationship. And I said, that's fine. You can go back to Seattle and, figure out what you want. And I'm not ready, I'm done with dating. I don't want to be one of many. I want to be the one. He thought about it for about a day, and he said, nope, made up my mind. This is what I want. I made a little bit of room in my closet, which I'd never done for anyone before, and I gave him a shelf, and he never left.
We went on a little trip to see my son in Phoenix, and I decided to pop the question at that time. I think she kind of knew it was coming, but she didn't know exactly when it was going to be.
And I think we would have gotten proposed sooner, but he didn't quite know what to do about the ring. He was very nervous about buying the ring. So I finally said to him, you can use a placeholder, like a Cracker Jack ring or a cigar band or something, and we can go get the ring later.
So I had taken off the little key ring of my car.
He proposed with the ring from his key ring from his car.
And she actually wore that for about several months before we actually got an engagement ring.
He's very funny. He's got a great sense of humor, and he's a jokester.
And she's very serious, so it balances out.
Yeah, I'm very serious.